Alright, so in this video, I'm going to go through the Windows form example. I'm going to go through creating the interface as well, but I do have the interface file here for you to download. You'll need to unzip the project. So you'll download this file, unzip it, and then you can access the project. So it'll be a file like this. You'll right-click, extract all. I'm saying skip because I've already actually. It'll be a folder like this that'll come up. So it doesn't have the zip. And you'll just open this file. So we have these two photos. We're going to create this form. So you have two radio buttons, a price, a quantity, calculate, clear, exit, and a box here. It should run like this. So it should come up with a input box before the form loads. And then they should be able to choose either item, and it changes the price. They can enter a quantity, and it displays the text. And you can clear it and do it again. And then they can exit. So that's the gist of what the form will do. So I will walk you through first creating the form, and then I will walk you through the code for the form. So I'm going to do a new project, a new form. I'm going to do form example. I'll just call it example 2. I'll only do 1B so I don't confuse myself. Because I named the other 1A, so I'll name this 1B. Okay, so I can resize the form, and I have my properties set as alphabetical. I can view properties or I can view events. So we first can create the look of our form and then decide on what events we need. We'll need 2 click events, well, 2 check events, and then 3 click events for the buttons. And as long as I have the form itself selected, I can set the background, I can set the title up here, I can set the default font. That'll make the form a bit bigger. But you can still resize it at that point. And I'm just a fan of gray, so I'm just going to do a gray background. You can change it to whatever you like. I'm just going to call it order form. So it'll make more sense when I have more items in here, but you can select from here, this drop down in properties, or you can click on them within the form. But just note that if you double click, it will count it as an event and create code for it. If you want to get rid of that, you can go in here and you'll see double click, and it will have some sort of event loaded here, and you can just erase it. And it should go away. If not, you can always just, if you still have issues with it, just move it to the bottom of your code so you're not bothered by it. But if you don't want to deal with all of that accidental clicking, you can choose objects, controls, they're called, from here. Okay, so let's add, we're going to the toolbox on the left, and I'm going to add first a group box, which will be under containers. I cannot remember what I called that. So I'm just going to call it order. So we're going to group our order items within this box. And then we'll have 2 photos. So we need 2 picture boxes. So I'll just click and drag them, resize them how I like. If I resize one, I can copy and paste it. It's much like we did with the last Windows example I gave you. And then we'll just add 2 radio buttons. Oh, I did a button, didn't I? I'm just going to copy this one. Okay. And then I'm going to have a label for the heading. And one thing I learned is that Visual Studio sets labels to be auto size true. So when we have our label box here to display the message, if we set it as false, we can size it like we do the pictures. And I'll show you that. But here we can do it as a menu label, just to have like a heading. Make it bold, maybe make it a little bigger. Okay. And then here we're going to have 2 text boxes, one for the price, and I just did Control-V on my keyboard. If you have a Mac, you can do Command. I'm not sure. But I'll need 2 labels, one for each of the text boxes. And see, the little pink line will actually make it line up a bit better. Alright, so I have my price text box, my quantity text box, my labels, my buttons. I need my 3 buttons though. Okay, so we have 1 button. I'll copy and paste another button. I'm just doing Control-C, Control-V. You can also right-click copy, right-click paste, or you can drag and drop 3 times. Either one works. Okay. So we can resize the form. Gives a little more room. And then we need 1 more label. Okay. So here's what we'll do. It's a lot easier to put everything in here where you want and then change their settings. So first we're going to set this as chicken. So we're going to let them order chicken or steak. Kind of like, a wedding, they can order chicken or steak. Here there's price. So whatever I type, I'm hitting enter, but if you click in another box, it will also do the same thing. Or click another item. So quantity, and then if I click price, it'll change that. So there's multiple ways. Now this is just changing the displayed text. We still have to change the name of these. I'm going to change inside. This is where it helps to first create the button, then copy it, because then they can all be the same size. But that's alright. And exit. We can do it this way as well. Alright. And this label is the one I was mentioning. In class I showed you how to do it through the code. So you can either have the code change the background color, the size, or what you can do is you can turn off auto size, and then you can set the size here, or you can drag it. And then you can set the background color. You can set the alignment, and then it just looks a little cleaner that way. It's just know that the user is going to see this. Another option is you can do like I showed you in class and leave the color the same as the background, and then it's invisible. You can still select it from here, just make sure you name it properly. We'll call it, could either be message label or display label, is I think what I called it. So now I can select it from here even though it's invisible. And we can have the code set the background color. And then you can have the clear button clear it out. So it's just your preference. Okay, so let's do the pictures. So what we want to do is we want these to stretch, because if we choose auto size, it will change the size of our box to match the picture. Okay. Now these are going to add a resource folder, and I'll show you, because you see there's no resource folder here now. So when I choose an image, I'm going to say project resource file, so it's going to add it as a resource. So I'll import those two pictures, these two. So I will shift click both, or you can import one and then import the other separately. But they'll both show up here. I'll choose the chicken, click OK, and you'll see a resource folder is added. If you want to remove these, do not delete them. Right click and exclude from project, and then you should be able to delete them. Because if you delete them, you have to go here, properties, and resources, and you'll find there's some here with an error, and you can delete those. So your best option is to just avoid that altogether. Okay. But if you do that, you can fix it. Okay. And we'll choose the stake here. You can also, if you have a bunch of pictures, you'll have 6 pictures. You can, I believe you can just add resources. There is a way to just add them all at the same time, or you can do it here. I think it's somewhere up here. Somewhere in the menu there's an option. But the other option is just do it from here. Okay, so let's go and name all of our controls. Call that menu label. So name is at the top. The display text is at the bottom. This will be our chicken radio. You can name it C radio, you can name it radio button 1 and 2. Whatever helps you remember what they are. So I'm just typing want to label, enter. Let's see. Calculate button. I'm doing these first because I want to set some other settings for the text boxes. clear button, and exit button. Okay. We already renamed this one. So for each of these, for some of these you'll have text, some you won't. You'll have display text down here, and you'll have the name of the control here, and it'll change. So in the code, you'll reference these names. Now, text box 1 will be our price box. We're also going to set this as read-only. And I'm going to set text align to right. You can set default text if you like as well. Quantity could be 0 default, or you can leave it blank. Okay. So now you can see we've named everything here. I think I forgot to name text box 2. Yes, I did. So now it's an easy way to check. We'll call it quant box. Alright, so that's everything we need. That will be our form. So now we can start deciding what events we need. So we need an event here, and then these 3 events. And then we need a form load event to load up the input box. So if you have the form selected here, we can go to events, and we can double click load. And so now in our code it will create a load event. We can go back to design, select our radio buttons. See how check changed is highlighted? That's the event we want. There are multiple ways to accomplish the same thing. That's the beauty of coding. So there are multiple ways to get this form to do what we want it to do. So my way is just one way. There are other ways to do it, so just keep that in mind. There may be better ways, and that's fine as well. But we're going to code most of our... So first, we want the form to load an input box when the form loads. That'll happen in the load event. We want some information to be stored and displayed when they check one of these boxes. Those will happen in the checked events. So that way they can go back and forth and it'll keep changing. And then a lot of things will happen in the calculate event. And then we'll have things in the clear and exit event. So all of our code will happen pretty much in the events, which are similar to methods. They pretty much are methods. They're things the program does. So, you can create if statements. If this box is checked, do this. If this box is checked, do this. For this example, I'm just going to do a simple form of code. So we have the check change for these. We're going to do a click event for each of the buttons. So we'll have a calculate click, a clear click, and an exit click. Okay. The exit is easy. It's in your their PowerPoints I provided you. But it just says this close. A clear button will just clear out each item individually, each control. So we'll clear out the checkboxes, the radio buttons. Sorry, we'll clear the checks on the radio buttons. And we will clear the text boxes, and we will clear this label. and the calculate button is where it will calculate the total price and quantity. Well, for this form, just the price. For your project, it'll be the price and quantity. And then it will display them here. So it'll perform those two functions. The form load is going to reference VisualBasic input box. Otherwise, you would have to create your own using code, which would be a little too complicated for this project. So you'll need to add a reference here, as well as a reference in the project. So to do that, you click on Solutions Explorer, right-click the project, add reference. So it's going to allow you to use classes and objects from VisualBasic. So we'll be using C# and VisualBasic here. You'll see stuff will pop up here. You'll see VisualBasic's in there now. You'll reference it in this specific form using Microsoft .VisualBasic. Okay. So all you have to do now is call the input box. So the first thing we'll do is we'll create a variable to store the customer's name in. Now, if I create a variable in one of these events, you can't use it outside the event. So I have to initialize. I have to declare my variable here and then initialize it down here. So what is the variable? What's its value? Or what is it? What are we using it for? So this allows me to use name here, as well as down in the calculate, because it's going to display a name here. So I'm going to say name equals, and this, you'll just need to use this code because this is how you call the input box. So we're going to use two arguments. We're going to use the title, and we're going to use text that asks for the input. So this is going to be the text within the box. And that will be the title. So we have a title, we have the text where it's asking them their name, and they'll see a box under that. And so that's all you have to do. If you wanted to create your own, you'd have to probably create a class with all the settings for the input box. This is a lot easier. Okay, so the other thing I wanted to mention is in class, I think I said static. I did look that up, and you don't need the static. It should still let you use them here without the static. I found that when I tried to use it with the constants, it didn't work. So that's more in the console. So we're going to declare our variables up here, because I'm going to show you how to be able to display it with the $sign and still be able to use it in calculation. So we're going to set it here. Okay. So we're going to set our prices here, and we'll reference them in the check events. We're also going to initialize. I keep saying initialize. I'm trying to use the terminology so you guys learn the terminology. So we're going to declare them here, so we can initialize them down here. So we're declaring them just says what they are. So these are constant doubles. This is a string. This has a preset value. This has a constant value. These don't have a preset value. You can set one, but you don't have to. But we're going to use item price to store the price that's displayed. But we're going to store this price rather than the displayed price. I'll show you in the code. So we'll have order price and order quantity. Okay. So we're going to use all of these variables. So when they check the chicken box, we want it to display the chicken price in the price box. And we want them to be able to enter quantity. But the quantity won't be used until the calculate button. So when we are referencing the text boxes, we reference their name dot text. So we're saying the text in the price box is going to be and there are again multiple ways to do this. The one I showed in class was it had the formatting we were used to with these symbols around. But this allows us just to say this variable to string. So there's multiple ways to do the same thing. And I'm trying to remember. Yeah, there was a different one we used before. Let me think about that. So here what we're going to do is we're going to display one thing, and then rather than using what's displayed, we can use what's stored in item price. So what we'll do is if they check the chicken box, then we'll store the chicken price in item price. If they check this, we'll store the steak price in item price. So you could have item price 1, item price 2, item price 3, or you could do salad price, drink price, dessert price for your project. And that's all we have to do for those. Okay. Said I showed you a different version in here. They both work. The one I did in class, let me change these before I forget. Just remember on your project, so what you'll have is you'll have 2 radio buttons for the 2 salads, and they'll have the same price box they'll use. And then you'll have the 2 drinks, which will have their price box. So you'll have price box 1, price box 2. So make sure so here it would store chicken price in. So if you had, say, the salads, you would do the fruit salad in the salad price. Or it would have the pasta salad in the salad price. And then it would switch to fruit juice in the drink price. So you just have to make sure you're remembering which you are referring to. Okay, so yes, in class I think I said If you want me to remind you what the one in class is, I will. I cannot remember it right now. It's one of those things you don't need to memorize. There are ways to just look it up if you forget. So one thing you can do is you can say, let's see. So this would be a good thing to show you so you can figure out how to look up what you don't know. So what I can say is set the text box value as currency with C#. So you'll see there's a lot of things like forums, code projects. And you'll see people talking about it, and they have code you can look at. So here they're using tripars, different formats for the values. So you can look up different ways to do the same thing, is what I'm trying to get at. Yeah, I used the string.format. So you don't have to memorize everything. It's more learning. It's good to learn the code, but if you forget something, you can always look it up as long as you know what you want to do. So this would basically do the same thing. This is similar to what we did in the console. So it's referencing stake price formatting as currency. I can show you the difference by doing both. But one thing I found with this one was it was not showing the $sign. But we'll try it and see. But yeah, this was string.format. That was the one. So either of these, the variable to string with currency in parentheses, or string.format. This gives you a bit more control with the formatting. But it didn't work. So let me run it and show you real quick. I won't be able to use the buttons, but I can use the radios. So here's a nice little input box. And you'll see it's auto-selecting chicken. But now it's doing the currency formatting. It wasn't doing that earlier. So either way works the same. So you can do it this way, you can do it this way. Okay, so the majority of our code will happen, our program's functions will happen when they click calculate. So what they'll be doing here is first we're going to say the order price is the item price. So whatever value is stored in item price, which is based on which of these they check, will be our order price. And then the order quantity is equal to whatever is in the quantity box. So whatever text is in the quantity box. These should go away once we use them. We'll see here in a sec. Okay, so this is just going to take the value in the box. This is going to take the value we stored when these were checked. Okay. Wait, I already declared total price. Right? No, I did not, because it's a local variable. So you can say total price, total cost. Okay. So we're just going to take the order price, that is wrong, times the order quantity, not plus. And then we're going to display something in that box. Did I leave it white? Yes, I did. If I didn't have it white, I'll show it to you without it being white. But if you don't set the background, you do not need to do this step. But I'll go ahead and show you. Color that way, not white, that color. Okay. I think I named it something different this time. Yeah, message label. Okay, so we're saying the background color of message label is going to be white. And then we're going to do the message label again. But we're going to say the text is going to be the string format. So we're going to say sorry, my fingers are hitting the wrong buttons here. Okay. So we're going to do \n, not /n. For some reason my brain likes /n. It should be semicolon, not colon. It had, for some reason, because I had the colon, it thought that was part of my text. Do that. That'll fix it. This shouldn't be red. Anything red is part of your display text. So that'll tell you something's wrong. Okay, so let me type this. All right, so what's going to do here is it's going to say the total sale was, the total cost is currency, and then it's going to go on to another line and say name, thank you for your purchase. So this will be similar to what we did in the console. Here we need to reset our checkboxes. So to do that, for each of the radios, you set check to false. For each of the text boxes, you set the text to empty. And for each of the, well, for one of the labels, we'll set it as empty. So we're going to reset the display text. Alright, so that's the gist. We should not be doing that. See, they're being used down here. We'll check it here in a sec. Okay, so first when the form loads, it pops up the input box. When they check each of these, so if they check this box, this radio, it'll show them this price, and it'll store this price and item price. Then if they go and check steak, it'll switch to steak price and store steak price, or if I check back here, it'll change it. So each time they check one of these, item price will reset, is what I'm trying to get at there. And when they click calculate, it's going to grab the item price and quantity, multiply them to get the total cost, and display that in their name. So let's run it. You see it's still auto-selecting that. Let me fix that first. Let me see if I can. Wait, that one's supposed to be true. From what I saw online, they said try setting this as false. This is another thing. If you get something, you can look it up. So, what wording did I use? C# radio. Yeah, see. Radio button default checked. And you can look up how to fix that. And so sometimes they give you a lot of code, but every so often you'll find someone will give you a much more simple answer. But they recommended, they said don't have it as 0 for this one. They said set this one as 0. So we'll try that. If it doesn't work, it's not the end of the world if it's selected. Alright, let's try it. I'm not that worried about that for right now. Yeah, it worked. So they were right. So what I did was, for this checkbox, I set tab stop to false. And I set the calculate button to the 0 for the tab index. And that's just some interesting thing, but it works. So just set your tab stop to 0 to false, and then make your calculate button the 0 tab index. For some reason that works. So. Okay, let's start it. So you can always figure out how to fix things if you know what's wrong. So here I can go back and forth, and I'll change the price. Your total sale was, Jennifer, thank you for your purchase. And it should change, yeah. So yeah, it works fine. Should be able to clear it and go again. Yeah, so that's, if you can do this, you should be able to do your project. It'll just be on a larger scale. You'll have 3 of these boxes, and you'll have 6 of these boxes, 6 of these, 6 radio buttons. So you'll just have a much larger form. Just know that once you put them in the group box, you can move it around, and so it makes it a little easier to format it. So again, this is the code. We added the reference for VisualBasic here and in Solutions Explorer. We declared some variables that we used. The form loaded the input box. We have the radio checks, calculate, the clear, and the close. The other option here is you can do a reset button, and you can Google how to do that, because I'm not requiring that. But all that will do is delete the form and create a new one. So you can also just do the clear button. It would just be more of these. So if you have any questions, let me know.